A middle-aged wife had just returned home on a Saturday afternoon after a shopping trip, her usual post-shopping contentment replaced by annoyance. She burst through the door, each step heavier than usual, signaling her distress. Her husband, a man of regular habits, was predictably sprawled on the couch, engrossed in a football game. Without pausing to catch her breath, the wife launched into her story, recounting an unpleasant encounter at the local department store. Seated in the shoe section, surrounded by boxes of various styles and sizes, she had inadvertently shifted into a position that made her lack of undergarments noticeable. To her shock, the shoe salesman had made an offhand and highly inappropriate remark, stating, "If that thing was full of ice cream, I'd eat every bite." Offended and embarrassed, she sought solidarity and protective outrage from her husband. However, he seemed to barely register her agitation, offering nothing more than a non-committal grunt without taking his eyes off the screen. Frustrated by his lack of response, she demanded action, raising her voice and insisting that he stand up for her honor. She questioned why he wasn't storming down to the store immediately to confront the salesman. Finally, tearing his attention away from the game, her husband met her heated gaze and spoke in a steady voice. He explained his stance, beginning with a sigh. "Well," he said, "there are 3 reasons why I won't confront the man. First of all, you didn't need new shoes. You already have more pairs than you can wear, making it an unnecessary shopping trip. Second, you have no business going shopping with no panties on. But most of all, I'm not going to punch anyone who's big enough to eat that much ice cream." A husband and wife were traveling down a long country road together, maintaining silence for miles. Their quietness resulted from an earlier conversation that had turned into a disagreement. Both were too proud to admit they might be wrong, so they rode in silence, thickening the tension in the air. As they continued driving, they soon came across a farm. In the farmyard, there were several animals, mules, goats, and some pigs, all minding their own business. Seizing an opportunity to lighten the mood, the husband turned to his wife and said, "Whoever they are, do you think those could be relatives of yours?" Without missing a beat, the wife responded, "Absolutely, those are my in-laws." An elderly dog, appearing quite worn out, wanders into a man's garden. The man carefully examines the dog's collar and notices the round belly, realizing that the dog must have a loving home somewhere. Out of curiosity, the dog follows the man into his house, walks down the hallway, jumps under the sofa, settles down, and quickly falls into a deep sleep. Finding this behavior peculiar, the man decides to let the dog rest. After a little over an hour, the dog stirs awake, strolls to the door, and the kind man opens it for him. Happily, the dog wags his tail in gratitude and strolls out. To the man's surprise, the very next day, the same dog returns, gently scratching at the door. The man opens up, and just like the previous day, the dog casually enters, heads down the hallway, jumps onto the sofa, gets comfy, and falls into another peaceful nap. Once again, the man lets him rest undisturbed. After slightly more than an hour, the dog rises, walks up to the door, and the man promptly lets him out with a cheerful tail wag as the dog takes his leave. This peculiar routine continues for several days. Driven by curiosity, the man decides to attach a small note to the dog's collar, writing, "I noticed that your dog has been enjoying his naps at my house daily." To his amusement, the following day, when the dog visits, there's a new note attached to the collar that reads, "This dog shares a house with 4 lively kids. He's desperately trying to get some uninterrupted sleep. Join in for a nap tomorrow." A large number of viewers watch my videos without a subscription. Therefore, subscribe to my channel so as not to miss new videos with funny jokes. A nurse instructed a man to undress and put on a gown before the doctor could examine him. Feeling nervous, the man asked if he had to undress in front of her. The nurse assured him, saying she had seen many people without their clothes on, and he didn't need to worry. However, the man expressed concern about his body, claiming it would be funny to see him without clothes. The nurse reassured him that she was a serious worker and had never laughed at anyone she was helping in her over 20 years of experience. Reluctantly, the man began undressing, starting with his shirt, then his pants, and finally his underwear. To the nurse's surprise, the man revealed a large body but had the tiniest male private part she had ever seen, almost the same size as a small AAA battery. Despite her efforts not to laugh, the nurse couldn't control herself and let out a small chuckle when she realized she was laughing at the man's private part. She immediately felt remorseful and apologized, promising it wouldn't happen again. Regaining composure, she asked the man about his health concern, to which he replied, "It's swollen." A man and his wife are in a sound sleep, oblivious to the world. Suddenly, the phone rings, jolting the man awake. He answers the call, listens briefly, and then exclaims, "How would I know? I'm not a weatherman," in frustration. He forcefully hangs up the phone with a loud noise. Perplexed, his wife inquires about the caller. He responds, "It was the wrong number, some idiot asking if the coast was clear." A tired U.S. Army veteran is seeking a seat on a crowded British train. Unable to find one, he approaches a British lady and asks,
"Madam, may I use your seat?"
The British lady responds,
"Can't you see my puppy is sitting here? How rude Americans are."
The Army veteran walks off, attempting to find another seat. After a couple of minutes, he returns to the lady and says,
"Please, ma'am, may I have your seat? I'm very tired."
The woman accuses him of being inconsiderate. Undeterred, the man calmly walks up, throws the dog out of the train window, and takes the seat. The woman starts screaming, demanding that the man be punished. Her husband intervenes, saying,
"You Americans are doing everything wrong. You drive on the wrong side of the road, use the wrong utensils to eat, and now you've thrown the wrong dog out of the train."
In a rural church in Ireland, a nun is immersed in prayer when a sudden noise and a cloud of green smoke frighten her. When the smoke clears, 2 leprechauns appear in front of her, matching the descriptions from the stories, dressed in green clothes, decorated with fancy hats, sporting red sideburns, and about 2 feet tall. One leprechaun seems shy, while the other looks confident. The brave leprechaun greets the nun, expressing curiosity. "Hello, sister, we have a question. Are there leprechauns here who are nuns?" The nun, taken by surprise, replies, "No, I have been here for 6 years, and there are no leprechaun nuns in this church." The brave leprechaun, not at all embarrassed, continues to pry. "Only 6 years, right? This is a short time. Is there anyone who has been working here longer?" The young nun agrees, offering, "Yes, the Mother Superior has been working here for almost 70 years. She can answer your questions." She's accompanied by a nun. The leprechauns head to the Mother Superior's office. The shy leprechaun is silent, while the brave one expresses gratitude. "Nice to meet you, Mother Superior. We have a few questions." Surprised, the Mother Superior encounters a rare sight: 2 leprechauns. A brave leprechaun asks, "During the time that you have been here, have there ever been leprechaun nuns here?" The Mother Superior firmly denies, "No, I would definitely remember that." Persisting, the leprechaun asks about the history of the church, wondering if there were leprechaun nuns in the past. The Mother Superior, relying on her knowledge, answers, "I've read all our books twice. There were definitely no leprechaun nuns there." Undeterred, the leprechaun explores other possibilities by asking about leprechaun nuns in other churches in Ireland, or perhaps elsewhere in the world. The Mother Superior, after thoughtful reflection, rejects this idea. "If she is not in Ireland, I don't think she will be found anywhere else." Turning to his friend with a grin, the leprechaun declares, "See, I told you, you fucked a penguin." A photographer from a renowned national magazine received an assignment to cover the fires at Yellowstone National Park. Upon arrival, he realized that the thick smoke would hinder or even prevent ground-level photography. Seeking a solution, he asked for permission to rent a plane and capture aerial shots. Upon reaching the airport, he spotted a plane ready near the gate. Quickly, he hopped in with his equipment, exclaiming, "Let's go!" The pilot taxied the plane into the wind, and in no time, they were airborne. The photographer instructed, "Fly over the park and make 2 or 3 low passes so I can capture some pictures." Puzzled, the pilot asked, "Why?" The photographer, focused on his mission, replied, Because I am a photographer, and photographers take photographs. A moment of silence passed before the pilot, somewhat embarrassed, stammered, "You mean you're not the flight instructor?"